Hi everyone, welcome to Justine's Kitchen. Today I am so lucky because I'm here with my good mate, Cliff Scott, and he's going to make his
world famous baby back barbecued ribs.
Right, and I know a lot of people, they talk about his ribs. I've had them multiple times, they're absolutely fantastic. But everybody always asks, what do you put in your ribs, Cliff? And so he's pulled this out to show us, and I'm a little nervous to ask him because when I first asked him, he said 30 spices.
Well, so the basic theory is that if you took all the spices in the world and you combined them together, you would have the best spices in the world.
Right.
So every spice and every spice blend adds complexity, adds different flavor profiles, but when you put them all together, you get the ultimate complexity in spice blends, and that's what makes the ribs come alive. Speaking of the ribs, here they are, direct from Costco, where Sue went and braved the long lines of Costco to pick them up, and that's what we got going. We've got some amazing spices. This one is probably my favorite. Lowry's Perfect Blend. Sadly, you can't get it anymore. You can try it, but know that little bit is the last little bit on the face of the earth. So feel free and have as much as you'd like. Yeah, this one's really good. Salt Lick is a famous barbecue company down in Austin, Texas. So I picked up a couple of those there. These guys are really good. Mr. Stubbs, really good barbecue.
I'm fascinated by all of these individual packages.
They're all good. They're all good. So they all come from a place in Chicago called the Spice House, appropriately. And
they have a website.
They do.
So you guys can jump onto the website and check out thespicehouse.com.
Yep, that's
and
what
have
it is.
a look at what might work for ribs or chicken or beef, and you could create your own spice mix. There was one here that was maple.
Yes, that's.
There was a maple, granulated maple sugar, and something else.
This
so
one,
you could sweeten it up with honey powder, maple powder, that kind of thing.
Yep, or brown sugar. Brown sugar is really good today.
So I think the next step is to have Cliff show you how he breaks down the ribs, and then we'll show you what he does with his spice mix.
Perfect. Let's go. Ribs have all been cleaned and washed. They're just, we're getting all the moisture out of them. We use the paper towels to draw the moisture out. And one of the advantages to that is that when the moisture's out, it sucks in the spices and really absorbs the flavor. But the disadvantage is that when you do this, they get very dry. And the spices tend not to stick to the meat. So what I tend to do, I just take some canola spray. This one's from Trader Joe's. And I just spray them down with canola spray. Flip them over, spray them down again. And now you've got a little bit of stickiness to them. So when we put them into here, now they're ready to be seasoned. Now it's time to season. You can see I've already got my aluminum foil over here, because as soon as I'm done seasoning with it, I'm just going to put it over onto the aluminum foil, stack the 3 ribs, the 3 racks of ribs, and then they're ready to go into the refrigerator for 24 hours. When you season them, this is my blend that I've already put together. When you season them, I think the trick is do not over season the ribs. Because if you do over season the ribs, we've got spice wimps like my wife Sue, and she just hates it when I do that. So lately I've been backing off of the spices. And what that does is that enables, and you'll see this when we go back to the cooking part, that enables the mesquite and the hickory from the wood and the green egg in order to really take over the flavor profile. So again, we just want to take the spices, kind of give a light coverage to them, just easy, and then come back later. I always like to kind of knock it on its side in order to get kind of a smooth flow of spices, but just enough. Make sure that when you get to these thick ends, you've got enough spice on the thick ends. Simply flip this over. We do the same thing on the other side. And now it should be ready to go onto the aluminum foil. We just take a little bit of aluminum foil, wrap them real tight.
My spice blend is a little simpler than Cliff's. So what I have here is I have 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and then everything else is just 1 tablespoon. I have onion powder, garlic powder, cumin and coriander. I have oregano, and then I have this smoky barbecue spice rub that I found at Trader Joe's. You can use any spice rub that you like, but I noticed that everything is a different texture and coarseness. I like mine to come together and be quite smooth and also quite fine. So I'm gonna take my spice grinder and I'm gonna put everything into this, and I'm gonna give it a really good grind. Now you can see, since I've ground it all up, look at that, it's all one nice fine consistency. I picked up my ribs from Whole Foods, and you can see that they're a little leaner than Cliff's and a little smaller. So what I do is I tend to just cut them in half, and then instead of doing the canola spray like he does, I just do a little bit of olive oil and give it a bit of a rub down. Salt them, and then I rub in my spice blend, and I do it quite liberally because I really want to make sure that fine spice gets into all the little cracks and crannies. And then I turn over, and I only use my right hand, so that way my left hand stays nice and clean to be able to handle all of my products. And there's no cross-contamination. So a little more olive oil, just a tiny bit. Once again with the salt, and then our spice mix. Now the spice mix I think was pretty popular because I cooked up some ribs for some mates of mine that were visiting from Australia, and they loved it so much I made a huge bag of it for them to take home. But when they got to Australia, a couple of gentlemen in customs opened the bag and smelt it, and when they asked what it was and they explained, they confiscated it. So hopefully they enjoyed their barbecue. Anyway, okay, so now I've got my ribs ready. All I'm gonna do is I've taken this baking tray, it's just a simple cake tin, and I've got my oven at 400, and I just want to stack these guys on top of one another so you can see the air can circulate through it. And I'm going to cover these with foil after baking them for about half an hour in a 400-degree oven, and then I'm turning them down to 325, and I'm gonna let them go for another 2 hours. I cook mine higher and for a little bit less time. So we're gonna put this in a 400-degree oven for half an hour, then cover and turn down to 325. All right.
Here we've got mesquite, we've got a little hickory, over here we've got a little apple, that's pecan over there. These are some old Jim Beam barrels that kind of bring in a little bit of, well, you know what Jim Beam is. And then we go over to the big green egg over here, accompanied by Bailey.
So I actually haven't got a green egg. I'm just going to do my ribs in the oven, but I've grilled on them before at clients' houses. Tell me, like you said something about the diffuser and getting this whole thing
So
going.
under here we have what's called a diffuser, and that kind of keeps all of the smoke coming up from the sides. Instead of direct heat, it brings it in at indirect heat. Basic rib rack. We place that on, place them all in, lower it down. We keep the temperature gauge right around 200 degrees. So
Okay, for how many hours?
about 2.5 to 3 hours.
Okay.
All right, so here we are. We put on the ribs about 2.5 hours ago. They're cooking a little bit fast these days because it's really warm outside, but we're right at about 200 degrees. It was hard to get the temperature down a little bit today, but here we go. the big reveal. Haven't even looked at them for 2.5 hours since we put them on. And here they are. You have to open them slowly because the heat blowback can be kind of big. And that's what they look like. Oh my. Look at that golden brown. The caramelization has come through. The glints are coming off of it.
There's smoke in it.
They're going to be beautiful. They're going to be just flavorful. Put these right over here.
All right.
And Justine's
All right, I'll put mine over here.
can go right there.
All right. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Looks great.